What
Yo,
up, Joe?
what's going on, Patrick?
Chilling. Bro, check this out. I got this weird thought in my head. You ready?
I don't know.
So, apparently, there's this thought around right now that allegedly the earth is flat. Did you hear about this one?
I have heard that before.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Well, just from messing around a little bit, looking at different things, right? Different sources, I've come to the conclusion that it might be so. And to be honest with you, I think we should get stoned and talk about it. So,
Welcome to
yo, Joe,
safety. Now, before we start off, I would like to say I personally do not believe the earth is 100% flat, nor a spinning ball hurling through space. If you could imagine a Fabergé egg, right? Fabergé egg. And inside of this egg was a flat landmass that was, a flat mass, let's say, of rock and dirt and water. That is Earth.
True.
Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
But what is Earth?
Depends on who you ask.
Well, luckily, I asked a few people. And when I say people, I mean sources. And let me give you just a quick one time. According to Wikipedia, I asked, what is Earth? And according to Wikipedia, it says it was assembled roughly 4.5 billion years ago. It is the third planet from the sun and the only astronomical object known to harbor life. Its hydrosphere is the only one in the solar system sustaining large bodies of liquid surface water, i.e., meaning water makes 70.8% of Earth's surface. So between the oceans, seas, gulfs, and so on, is what creates all the water that contains us all. That other 29.2% is nothing but land, islands, etc. That's Wikipedia's short version. That's what Earth is.
So
You
it's
buy
just
it?
like, I don't buy it, but sure. I don't believe anything off of
Well,
Wikipedia
I
100% of
mean,
the time. It's fucking Wikipedia. Anybody could have put that up there.
right. What makes it a credible source?
It's not a credible source.
So then you go ahead and you ask Encyclopedia Britannica.
There we go. Credible
Britannica,
source.
right? But this is the sources that we as people get, right? So if you ask Encyclopedia Britannica, you ask them what Earth is. Earth, they say that Earth is the fifth largest in the solar system. It's located in the Orion Cygnus arm, one of the four spiral arms of the Milky Way, which reside roughly two-thirds of the way from the center of the galaxy. Its Earth name in English, which is the dominant language in astronomy, derives from Old English and Germanic, and it's a combination of words of ground and earth. But it also is the only planet in the solar system that does not come from Greco-Roman mythology. That's a short version from Encyclopedia Britannica. To me, again, it just seems like they are taking snippets of this and snippets of that and snippets of this, and they're forming their own consensus and trying to explain it in the best way they can, I guess.
Oh, so
And the
you
best
mean
way they can is
how they recite all old religious texts or any kind of old finding that they find, right? Let's say that they're reading through the parchment paper and they get like half the sentence, right? And since they've read like 100 books by the same author, supposedly, they can think what he's going to put in next. Did you know that's how most of our religious texts are actually created? That's why you have the telephone game with it. Because you
true.
got this dude who reads part Latin, but he doesn't know what this one word means. So he just puts in what he thinks it means or what he thinks it wants to mean. It's the same thing they've
So
done
it's
with
like interpretive text, so to
exactly,
speak.
exactly. And it's the exact same thing that they fucking done with a globed earth to a flat earth. Right? because
What would it make the difference? Like, what would it make the difference? Let's say, for example, for me and you. We're not talking about the outsiders. We're talking about me and you. How would it make a difference to you and I if the globe was, whether it was uh,
good question,
spherical or if it was flat?
because I've asked you this 1,000 times. What would be the reason for them wanting to hide it, right? So you asked what for me though, personally.
Yeah,
For me personally, if you could prove that the world was flat and that it was an encased dome, that proves that everything in the book of Enoch and all these other religious scriptures and all these ancient cultures that also believe that the world was flat are true and they have credence. And then it makes you believe, but then it makes you have to question why the fuck these motherfuckers lied to me about it to begin with. What are you hiding from me? What are you? There's got to be a benefit of it for them hiding it from us, right?
right. What if? Now I know we don't really like to do the what if games because it makes it sound like we don't have experience in what we're saying, but you got to throw in the what ifs, guys. You got to throw in the hypotheticals and the variables. What if they known since the dawn of time roughly what it looked like? And let's say a group of people obtained the knowledge of the universe, right? Like you go through different times, different philosophers, they all had these ideas, these dreams, these visions, okay? What if these people's visions and dreams, what if they were nothing more than just visions and or dreams and they're not actually credible? But because the way that they're able to describe what it is that they dream about, it makes it seem plausible.
Right.
For example, let me give you one example real quick. So in the 16th century, during the Copernican Revolution, Polish astronomer Nicholas Copernicus proposed a sun-centered model of the universe, also referred to as the heliocentric system, claimed concurrent sea voyages provided practical proof that the Earth is a globe. So Copernicus in the 16th century said that a bunch of guys went on voyages across the planet, across the Earth with boats. And upon their findings, they believed that there was a bend or a natural curvature occurring in the Earth because you could experience it both on land and in water. So it was in the 16th century, Copernicus, also a philosopher, he made a proposal. What's another word for proposal? A suggestion. He suggested that maybe our planet is sitting third rock from the sun. The center of the universe is the sun, and we revolve around it. It was an idea. It was never proven. It was an idea. And the reason why it was just an idea and it was taken into consideration is because Copernicus was a philosopher, meaning at that time he had knowledge that was beyond his peers. So therefore, people are more susceptible to listen to somebody who has an experienced tongue, someone who has the knowledge and the vocabulary to describe what it is that they see or believe. Just take that into consideration. So prior to the 16th century,
1 second before 1 second before I lose it. So what if, right? Because you said that they all experience the curvature in the air and on land, right? So allegedly. So when you say that, it automatically makes people, it's automatically going to make disbelievers or people out there think, well, then the world's a fucking ball. Magnifying glass, right? If you were to look at the lens of a magnifying glass, if you were to look at it from a distance, it looks flat. But once you get up on it, you notice that it has a little hump to it, right? Not very big, just like your eyeball. Your eyeball has that little hump or dome over it. What if the landmass also does that? Right? Because obviously we're not 100% flat. Like if you were to put a level on Earth, we're not going to be plumb.
True.
So what if there is a little bit of a curvature and a lift to everything, right? Because everything started at at one point, right? So you got your base point, and then things start to grow, and as they grow and expand, they grow outward and upward. Thus, meaning at one point you are going to have a little bit of a curvature to it.
True.
But
Then
that
you have
does
to include perspective,
exactly, but that does not mean the whole thing is a spinning ball.
right? I mean, let's think about art, right? And it's simply in the form of art. In art, if you want to create an image that seems like it's up close at front and it goes to a back point, you have to create a vanishing point. Now, from point A to point B off of that vanishing point, it is a straight line. However, from perspective, it makes you appear that the objects that are closer are larger in size as opposed to the far end of the vanishing point. So what if we're looking at these land items, these masses, these mountains, these islands, or hell, even sailboats in the horizon line on an ocean or a lake? What if all it is just a matter of perspective? So say we're on a shoreline, okay, and we're looking at an island. Let's say we're in the Hudson, okay? Let's say we're at the Hudson River right here in good old New York. And we're standing on the New York side and we're looking across the river at towards New Jersey.
Hmm.
Now, when you look and focus at a thing in New Jersey, right, however many miles away, it seems like, oh man, this shit is mad far, right? But if you were to raise your elevation higher and still focus on that same target, you'll notice that that object isn't so far. But because your view of sight and your line of sight is only good for a certain amount of feet, it's all about perspective. Let me give you something real quick about curvature, right? Because we're talking about curvature. So the curvature is what most sources would consider 8 inches per mile estimately. So as the most accurate estimate, meaning for every mile between you and an object, the curvature will obstruct 8 inches of the object's height. That's off of the basic mathematics for our Earth. I don't know. So
Got you, Pat.
I feel like you're getting ready to tell me. Let's do this.
Got you. So, have you ever heard about the story? It's an ancient Chinese story called, it's a mythical story, ancient Chinese mythical stories, what they used to believe in ancient times, of the turtle and the elephant. Essentially, what it is about the creation of the earth, right? And the earth itself was made out of a turtle, right? And the earth is made out of the turtle's shell, and the legs were ripped off of the turtle and propped up underneath it to hold it up from the waters of heaven. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the ancient Native Americans also believed that we lived on a giant turtle shell, down to the point to where America was literally called Turtle Island when the first settlers came here. That is what it was referred to as the indigenous Americans. Okay, so you said earlier that people experience that curvature. So, just for be able to look at it, what if we are living on a, in quote, turtle shell, right? So yes, at one point, there is a curvature. And there's so many different types of turtle shells you could pick from.
True.
And we don't know if they were using the inside of the shell or the outside of the shell or what. Right? Because if it was me, I would crack it open. I've already ripped the turtle's legs off. I'd crack it open, gut it out, cut the bottom off, and then flip it upside down and grow my world on the inside of the turtle shell.
Interesting. Okay.
But that's just how I would do it. But the Native Americans believed that that Earth itself was literally on the back of a giant turtle, a giant sea turtle, which means they also believe that outer space contained water. That is a very big part of this, people. That space is actually water and not an empty void of nothingness, right?
Or vacuum.
Or vacuum, as they would put it, right? It's really what it is the fucking big ass ocean. And if you were to get outside of our protected dome, you are going to get carried by a massive tide, right? Like you're in an ocean. That's what pulls you away. There is no up, there is no down, right? There's just going in that jet stream. Like, now, Enoch, I've mentioned him before. When he described the earth, he described it having 4 portals around the earth that they were the controls of the earth's winds and rains and snows and all like that. Thus giving credence to the fact that there might be a way to get outside of our dome. Because if there's a way for the waters and the winds to come in from the outside, there's got to be a way for you to get outside. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what if they were able to get outside of the dome through one of those portals, snap a picture, and seeing how it's, you're looking now from a different perspective onto this Fabergé egg with a landmass on the inside of it that may or may not be on the back of a turtle. Forgot where I was going with this.
Almost like Horton Hears a Who.
Yes. So now you got a different perspective. So you're looking down on it. And if you were to look down through a crystal egg or whatever, that's why you say Fabergé egg, something glass, and then see what's on the inside, you would assume that the whole thing is one shape. But in reality, they're both 2 different entities.
Okay. So
better than a Fabergé egg. Remember those 25-cent vending machines back in the day? You'd put it in there and they'd spit out like a little prize.
yeah, you always go for the golden egg.
Yeah, and how it had that flat concave bottom, giving it curvature, and then the rounded clear top that you seen through, right? It's the same concept. Because
So
if you were to take that dome off, that bottom piece, you're going to say is flat.
So there's that ripe old question that says, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What if truly, if you solve that riddle, you solve the mystery to how we came to be?
All right, I got you. Genesis 1:1. God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. Genesis 1:6-8. God makes the firmament to separate the waters of heaven from the waters of earth. So the earth became the chicken, the chicken became before the egg, my friend. Because the egg would be the dome in this concept.
Okay, hold up. But we are in the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, we are a constellation of stars and planets.
I'm not saying we're not.
We have Mercury, we have Mars, we have Pluto, we have
Yes.
Neptune.
Yes.
Right? We have the sun and the moon, and the sun is 93 million miles away.
No, that's where you're wrong.
No, I'm not.
No, you're
wrong,
not.
because
No, you're
that's
not.
what I was taught, Joe.
No, you're not, because you just didn't pay enough attention to Sunday school. Because Genesis 16, 1:16-19, it states that God created the luminaries and put them within the firmament. The luminaries being the star, the sun, and the moon. So all of these things are within our firmament.
Nah. See, I can't buy that. The sun is 93 million miles away.
It's not though.
We
China just launched their own to prove to you that it's not. Because you know
that's
what was funny about that? Because
it's
once
just
it was
conspiracy theories.
once it was in the air, it looked to be the same size of our sun. So it is quite possible that there could be a sun within our firmament.
Well, how do you explain all the meteor crashes? If we have this big giant fishbowl over the top of us protecting us from outer space, then how do we?
One of the signs of revelations is the stars falling. So what if comets and asteroids is just nothing more than that? Old stars that have died out and they're falling.
Well, how does it go through the dome?
It's not going through the dome because it's within the dome.
So you're telling me that the sun, the moon, and the stars are within this firmament that we live. It's in our
Yes.
atmosphere.
Yes. There's actually a depiction of it in in one of the pyramids in Giza.
So you're telling me it's not 90
There's
miles
a
away.
man holding up the firmament with the sun, the stars, and the moon all around him underneath said firmament.
Anybody
But-
could have drew that. It's the
but-
internet.
But with that said, just like you said with all this, the Jupiter and Mercury, there is actually all them places, right? Because if you were a great scientist and you were able to create this world and everything on it, why would you not repeat the experiment? That's what we do. That's what science is, right? Science is when you take something and you constantly repeat the experiment. You do it 100 times. You don't do it once, because you might do it once and this happens, and then you do it again and then this happens.
Okay. All right.
And then if you want to give credence to things like string theory and the whole fact that, we might all be like everlasting living spirits, that once you die on this plane, your soul and your consciousness just gets transported to you on another plane. Right?
Okay.
What if these other planes are just these other planets?
All right, but I'm still stuck on this whole thing here. Because my whole life I was taught that this was this way, and therefore it is so, because that's how it's been taught. So the part that I'm trying to wrap my brain around still. So if the moon and the sun are within our dome or firmament, what is space? Space is outside of the water then, right? Outside of it?
Space is the heavens. It tells you that. It tells you that. It tells you because we sit on God's pillars underneath his feet of his throne. So therefore, space would be the heavens. It would be heaven.
I'm trying to catch up here. This is a lot to take in.
The Matrix, right? Before Neo goes in, matter of fact, Matrix 3, right? When he goes into the little ship and they're finally outside of the Matrix and the planet itself, right? And they're in that little ship going through everything and they're fighting the little weird things. I don't know. I'm not a big Matrix person. I'm sorry, people. That is the best way to explain it to people. That's what heaven, that's what outer space would be. That's what the heavens would be, right? And that little ship that they were driving was just happened to be like a submarine or something like that. You've never noticed how all the rockets they send to space look like a upside down submarine? I only say upside down because we see submarines like this, but when they're in space, they're like this, and they look the exact fucking same.
Hold up. Whoa. I could prove to you that the Earth is a globe. In 1968, we went to space in Apollo 8.
That doesn't prove that the Earth was a globe. That just means you were able to get to a random star within the moon, within the firmament.
And they took pictures.
Of a movie set.
A what?
Of a movie set.
No way.
We're not gonna go down moon landing tonight
Okay.
because moon landing is this whole it's its own self and it is starting to
I'm,
smell like a bitch.
I'm trying to understand, see, because so you're telling me that we've never been to space, actually.
What is your
If,
definition
if,
of space?
if space is outside of this dome,
Define
we've been
we.
there?
Define we.
Oh, NASA during the space race.
See, honestly, fuck it. I have no clue because I'm not the one who's gonna say no, we haven't, because I'm gonna give them the possibility that they really have found a way out. Right. And that's why they decided to start hiding shit. Because don't you like I couldn't find the proof on the internet like that, but I seen a video about a year ago, and it was this older woman who had just turned like 115 or something like that. And I used to remember my own grandmother, great grandmother. She died and she was like 95-ish. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? But she was born in like 1908. She even remembered in school as little kids, they taught them that the world was flat. And that was after Columbus. That was after Aristotle had proved that, it was round. He had the math. And you never stop to ask yourself how the man gets the math exactly right down to the last decimal without having any type of technology to prove it. That's just way too coincidental. And everyone just bought into it right away. Like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. It's got to be a globe, or else how didn't he fall off when he went to America? Well, because he didn't get to the fucking end yet. And when you get to the end, there's a fucking barrier stopping you
What if
called an ice wall.
so? See, so we're looking at. See, part of me wants to believe everything that you're telling me because of how everything has been over, recent time. That there's a lot of stuff that has a lot of misleading information. And the problem that I'm having is that in my head, remembering everything that I've been taught, why would they do this? Now that's what I'm thinking in my head. Okay. In my heart, I'm thinking no matter if it's round or if it's flat, this is still the place that we all occupy. This is our home, regardless of its shape. That should be the thing that we as a people, since we're the most, or at least what they tell us, we're the most dominant species on this planet.
Except for Tom Brady. Fuck Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Sorry. You were getting too sappy.
No. So it's like so what's the deal with satellites? Okay. How do satellites work?
Satellites don't fucking exist, in my opinion. I've never believed in satellites.
Are satellites? So you don't think satellites are real either?
I don't think they've ever launched a satellite. Like, what would be the whole purpose of it, bro? Right? We're gonna launch a satellite so that you can get TV, but then we're still gonna run cables to your house so that way you can get the same TV.
Yeah.
And then people think it's because of the satellite dish outside your house. No, it's the fucking cables that they hooked into the satellite dish.
So if there are satellites, what would be its sole purpose if it's not for cable?
Watch you. That would be the only purpose. The Truman Show. If there is satellites, that would be the perfect cover, right? To tell everybody, hey, it's for you to get better reception on your TV. I can give you more channels. I can give you whatever comfort. right? I'm going to make it seem like it's better for you to have it, just like they're doing with a lot of other things right now in the world. They're making it seem like it's better for you to have it because it's better to be safe than sorry. Why you want to go without it for? If you didn't have this, man, you know how bad it would suck. You'd have to flip, man. You'd only have 10 channels.
Hold up. Can we get a moment of silence for a small chronic break? I don't think I'm feeling safe enough yet.
Fucking dope fiends, man.
So
People moved in across the street, man. I'm 100% fact. They gotta be dope fiends, or that dude sells dope, man. One or two. I think they're just dope fiends, though.
okay. So in the 17th century, Galileo invented the telescope. And through the telescope, they were able to observe the constellations and the stars. And in finding the stars, they realized other planets were round. And that was just strictly through observation, right? I wonder if maybe that same exact philosophy, that what you see through your lens, is the same philosophy used when thinking about the area in which we inhabit.
Continue.
So if you think about it, if you're using a telescope, regardless of whether bigger, how the size or stature, you're always going to have that outer black edge, right? You're never going to get a full scaped picture. So through a fisheye lens, everything would appear round, especially if it goes past the points of contact on the lens or the outer ring.
Facts.
So what if that's when they really implemented the whole concept of heliocentrism or heliocentris? I'm sorry, I can't say that word. I'm kind of stoned again.
I think you had it the first time
Heliocentric model.
because they were finally looking through fisheye lenses.
So fast forward 20th century, we launched some guys up in a rocket. We say we're going to go to the moon. They do send a rocket, but the rocket actually just goes right past the moon and then crashes and comes down on the other side. Not actually landing there and stopping and taking some pictures and making a golf swing. In an area which there's no stars in the background, and if you're on the moon, you should be able to see stars because you're in fucking space, right? I mean,
It should be brighter, if anything, right?
If that's just the weed talking, maybe, I don't know.
See, okay. No, see, you're wrong, Pat. Space is so dark that it blacks out the sun. It blacks out the stars. Space is just too dark, man.
There's a theory out there that when you look at the moon is a mirror image of Earth's face. It's an exact replica, but it's the dark version. So when you start lining up all the continents that exist that we allegedly live on, there's all these different landmass formations. To where if you were to look at, can you pull up a picture of the moon, Joe? That'd be so much easier.
Of course I can, buddy.
That'd be awesome. See if we can. Maybe we do a side by side. If we could pull up a picture of the moon in its entirety, and we could pull up a picture of Earth basically in the same format, maybe you can have a better understanding, like, of what it is I'm trying to say. So 16th century, They came up with an idea that the sun was the center of the universe and everything in its entirety revolved around it. 17th century, we've established that that still applies, but they're round to be sure, creating this more of a visual of what we believe the planet's rotation could be.
So this is the moon.
Right?
Okay. So if I was to look at this and all right,
see.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what continent is what if this was the reinterpretation, but I see multiple asteroid strikes that I don't see when I look at things like Earth. But here's the funny thing, right? Here's the funny thing. All of these pictures, every single last one of them is CGI'd, people.
Everyone.
So what makes this one or this one or this one any more realistic than this one?
Facts. When look at if you were to take this, watch, ready? And go like this, stand it upright, it's gonna look like a ball. I'm trying to think. I was looking for a good one.
This one?
Yeah. Stand it up on its face and have it facing you. It looks like a globe.
I don't know if I can
You
do
look
that.
at it
All right, I can't
from
do
a side
that.
view, it would look flat.
I mean, if I went into like Photoshop and shit like that, I could do that, but not like this. I'm with you though. If you were to look down on this, you would assume that it is a ball because you can't see past this. So you would just assume that this continues on.
Right. So we're always getting a view of what the overhead would be. That's the perspective. Like, for example, here's a great example, the United Nations flag.
Like, honestly, bro, this is probably one of the best pictures of what a flat earth would probably look like.
Now imagine that disc with a, what is the word that you're used?
Firmament?
No, egg.
Oh, Fabergé egg?
Fabergé egg. Now imagine a Fabergé egg formed around it.
Yeah, like shit. Like this also would, in my opinion, this also contains down around here.
Right?
Because the
it
book
is the same above as it is below.
Yeah, the book of Enoch talks about going to the underworld, right? So
the world that exists underneath us.
Yeah.
Whether
Now,
we choose to acknowledge this or not, it does.
Just a couple things out of the book of Enoch that, in my opinion, makes it pretty, straightforward that, what we just saw is a pretty close representation of what the world probably actually looks like, right? Like, there's just so much, and I don't want to read all of it. Literally got 3 pages here, people.
These are my observations. Let's. I'm gonna step outside of the story. So this is my things that I've noticed in life, and I've had questions for my whole life, not just in recent times. Example 1: stars. The stars are always in the same spot, generally at the same time every day. Whether you look at it or not, they do. However, in a 24-hour span, the stars turn on the inside of the firmament.
All of it.
And that is how we keep our reference of time is by how the stars turn and how the suns move, how the sun moves and how the moon moves. Everything goes synchronously as like time, and that's how they keep do with the concept of time. They watch this constellations, they watch the sun and moon, and that's how they're able to observe and figure out when you're in changes of season based on how the moon and the sun are closer to you, whether you're closer to the North Pole or the South Pole, right? Because okay, so the North Pole and the South Pole, and then we live in the middle, right? So we're getting the pull of both things. So as this is here, and these planets are spinning around with us in the inside, as we live here, times throughout the year, the planets come in and out, or some come in this point and this is out, and that creates the temperature difference somehow, giving us the changing of the seasons, as opposed to it's just it is what it is. um October comes around, they tell us to set our clocks back, and we turn on our lights at 5 o'clock at night.
Most ancient societies believe that the temperature of the earth came from within the earth.
Which makes total sense, man.
Yes, because there's actually even a theory that there's actually a second sun within the earth, right? Because there's a whole hollow earth theory that there's a whole the shallows, like it's part of the book of Enoch that I'm actually going to go through here in a second, but where it's the underworld or whatever, and that sun is actually what lights the moon, right?
The black sun.
The black sun, and it's also what heats the earth and shit like that. Like that's how our ancestors believed it. You know what I mean?
Zionists
You like
believe.
you want to know how I knew that winter was finally here, right? Because we live in upstate New York, right? It's normally got feet of snow and everything like that by now, but it's been like it'll snow a little bit, and then it melt. It'll snow a little bit, it'll melt. But the other night, I was taking the dog out. There weren't no snow outside. There was nothing, just green grass, and it was warm that day too. And I'm taking the dog out, and the ground is rock hard. It's frozen. And I'm like, all right, it's gonna snow soon. Winter's here. Winter is finally here. When the ground freezes, winter is here.
True. That is true. If it stays spongy, it's not going to stick around.
No,
Ground's got to be frozen for the snow to accumulate.
exactly. Because there's nothing to absorb it. But so when I was doing research, I got stuck on the pillars of God, right? Because they talk about it in the Mormon religion, they talked about it in the Chinese myth, and they talk about it in a lot of other ancient religions that the world is sitting on top of a pillar or sitting on top of something else to stabilize. Even to modern day science, that we believe that there's an invisible axis going through our planet, keeping us stable while spinning all through space and hurling into the sun and all this crazy shit. So I just stumbled onto a random part of Enoch, right? And it was Enoch 18, verse 1 through 12. And it starts off with, and I saw the storehouses of the winds, and I saw how with them he has adorned all creation, and I saw the foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of earth, and I saw the four winds which support the earth and sky. And I saw how the winds stretch out high in And I saw how the winds stretch out high of the heaven, and how they position themselves between heaven and earth. They are the pillars of heaven. And I saw how the winds which turn to the sky and cause the disk of the sun and all the stars to set. And I saw the winds on the earth which support the clouds, and I saw the path of the angels, and at that the end of the earth, the firmament of heaven above. All right. And I went towards the south, and it was a burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, 3 towards the east, three towards the south, and those towards the east were of colored stone, and one was of pearl, and one was of healing stone, and those towards the south of red stone. And the middle one reached to heaven, like the throne of the Lord of Steuben.
Oh shit. My bad.
Sorry, Erica wrote that word, and I can't really pronounce it, so we're just gonna skip over it. And the top of the throne was a sapphire, and I saw a burning fire, and what was in it, all the mountains. And I saw a place there beyond the great earth. There were waters gathered together. If you didn't catch that, he just straight out said that outer space is water.
I got that.
And I saw a deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire, and I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling, and as regards, which were falling, and as regards both height and depth, they were immeasurable. And beyond the chasm, I saw a place, and it had neither the sky above it nor the foundation of earth below it. There was no water on water. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. All right. So basically, he's standing there at the edge of this dome. He can see down below him. He can see into the chasm of earth. He can see the hollow earth, right? Just like how Commander Byrd said when he flew to Antarctica and supposedly flew his plane into the hole, into the center of the earth, right? So, and he also seen past it, and he said it was an empty void of nothingness.
Uninhabitable desert.
Now, Enoch 21, verse 1 through 2, he talks about how he went to the place of nothing and how he saw a terrible thing, and neither the high heaven nor the firmament or the firm ground, but a desert place, prepared and terrible. The prepared part is what's tripping me out, right? Because Judgment Day is when you decide if you go to heaven or hell, is when you get thrown into the fiery pit. That's what he's describing. That's what he's seeing. And it's not fiery yet because it doesn't need to be used yet. I don't even know if he knew at the time what he was seeing. Because I'm just now figuring this out, reading this for the fucking sixth time.
You know what's crazy, dude? As you're reading it out to me, it's being played out in my head through my imagination. Is the scene from The Lion King when Mufasa's talking to Simba, and he says, "Look, Simba, this is our kingdom. Everything the light touches is ours." He says, "Well, what about that dark place?" He says, "You should never go there."
Exactly. So Enoch 33, verse 1 through 2. This is the last two. This is the last ones I got for you guys. I know I'm a horrible reader, but
I'm not complaining. Who else is just here? Me and you.
so there's there's millions of people watching us right now.
Oh,
I'm sorry. We broke the
I just got a
fourth
little
wall.
window. I got a little window.
And from there, all right. So 33, verse 1 through 2. And from there I went to the ends of the earth, and I saw the large animals from each different from the other. And I also saw birds, each different in form, beauty, and call, each different from the other. And from the east of these animals I saw the ends of the earth, which on which heavens rest, and the open gates of heaven. So I ask you this question. When the Muslims pray, which way do they pray?
East.
And
Where's Mecca?
Pointed to the well, honestly, the even Muslims don't really know. Most Muslim factions can't actually agree on it. A lot of them believe that it is in Mecca, but the city that was described to be where Muhammad came from does not equate with what the ancient city of Mecca during that time would have actually looked like. They actually think that Muhammad was from somewhere about like 200 yards, like wow, like he was a good distance in another direction. I think it was like to the west or some shit like that, or even farther east. But it wasn't the same city. So there's a rift in there. But they pray to the east. The sun sets, the sun rises from what direction and drops at what direction?
West to east. No, it rises in the east and settles in the west.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to catch that because we're on the East Coast and we get the sun first. So if the sun goes from east to west, then that's where heaven rests. And the light is supposed to be of good nature. That it's obviously the sun is at the bottom of God's throne, right? Or it is something to do with heaven altogether. Because it obviously comes out of heaven. It obviously starts at point. Its starting point comes from heaven.
Okay. It's good.
I mean, there's more verses in this thing that I found on the internet.
So think about this though, right? Kind of going back to the moon image. The moon is genuinely a mirror image of Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go off of the moon's reflection, whereas the moon goes off our reflection. What if everything that we know as far as how to navigate north, south, east, and west, what if that, since it's mirrored, really is backwards? North is south, east is west. Because if everything is truly backwards, right? Or maybe I'm just a little too stoned for that. So what if we go by what we would say is latitude, longitude, what would be Jerusalem, right? In a mirrored image, Jerusalem could be where we are geographically.
Oh, I'm sorry. Even when the sun sets, it sets in heaven. See, I think I should really read the rest of this, bro. At least these next 4 verses.
What if when we see the sun set, when they see it hit that horizon line, right? What if that actually is not a horizon line? It's just the sun dipping on the other side of the ice wall.
All right, bro. I got to read this to you, man. Because like the more you keep on talking, like you literally, it just keeps on going with what it's in this passage.
I know, I guess it's meant to be.
So I'm just going to continue reading Enoch 72, verse 1 through 4. The book of Revelation of light of heaven, each as it is, according to their classes, according to their period of rule and their times, according to their names, the place of origin, according to their months, that Uriel, or Uriel, Uriel.
Uriel, yeah.
The holy angel who was with me. So he was the angel that was taking Enoch on this trip.
He was the escort, kind of.
Yeah. And he was the holy angel who was with me, and there is the leader showed to me, and he showed me all their regulations exactly as they are for each year of the world and forever, and until the new creation shall be made, for which will last forever. And this is the first law of lights. The light called the sun is rising in the gates of heaven towards the east and setting in the western gates of heaven. And I saw 6 gates from which the sun rises, 6 gates in which the sun sets, and the moon also rises and sets in those gates. The leaders of the stars together with those whom they lead. There are 6 to the east and 6 to the west, exactly in that place, one next to the other, and there are many windows to the south and to the north of those gates. And first there rises a great light named the sun, and it is a disk. All right, named the sun, and it is a disk. It is like the disk of heaven. I don't know why, but I need to over accentuate the fact that it is a disk of heaven, and the whole of it is full of fire, which gives the light warmth. So, a disk is flat. Yes.
You know,
A disk is also circular. Yes. The sun and the moon are circular. Yes.
Yeah.
So can we just jump out and say that it is possible that maybe people jump to conclusions and seeing 2 spherical like objects in the sky because they're round and circular and thought those are balls because what's circular on me is balls, so those got to be balls, right? Because the concept of a disc wasn't really like that back then. But the fact that he clearly says they are of disc form, they are a disc. He didn't say they're like a disc, they are a disc. That seemed pretty straightforward.
Sure does. So this, like a disc.
Oh yeah, it was definitely meant for me to read that to you because that was definitely the last part of the scriptures.
Disc was sitting like this.
Oh, I gotta go back to you. I couldn't see. Exactly.
The disc is sitting like this, but from an overhead view, like this.
So, what if we're just a disc with a firmament over us? He's obviously got a thing for discs.
This is it. This is the visual. Yeah, it's an ashtray. Take it for what it is. We're this mass, like this. This is how we live. We have our firmament that protects us, the above and the below. Right? But what happens, just like we said, when you look at it from a top view, you turn it upright, and suddenly that disc looks brown. That's where we get the globe, because you can't accept the fact that it could just be round like a disc. You go, no, it has to have volume and depth because of all the different land mass formations. We have mountains, we have valleys and canyons and gorges. That has to be accommodated. So therefore, it needs to come out again. So now we're looking at something that's similar to this. It's not quite flat, but it's not quite round. Now it has volume and mass. Just think about it, guys. Just think about it. And the people who have obtained this knowledge used it against us. That's the problem. They created their own story, and we have forced to believe it because we didn't know anything other than that story. That's what happens when you try to erase history. You can't just erase it and keep the important parts for yourself so that therefore you can rewrite history. And sometimes I feel as if we are reliving in the rewritten version of somebody else's story.
Yeah, we've just been playing the telephone game for fucking centuries.
Right. While trying to forge our own story based off of our own beliefs, when sometimes you have to, because of the way things are, you have to question whether or not the things that you believe in are credible. but they have to be because you're doing them and you're abiding by them because they're your own set of beliefs. Right? We're brought up in the generation of question everything. So we should always continue that and to question everything because everything is not always as it appears. It doesn't mean at the end of the day that Joe and I are right. It doesn't, we're not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, these are our beliefs. These are what we feel. These are a combination, right? Because ultimately, whether you believe it's relevant or not, these things mean something. Like, you know, we need to apply them in some way, shape, or form. There needs to be some sort of truth about something, right? And it starts about where we came from. Because ultimately, this lie that space isn't real or whatever is really just been a control thing. How do you control a civilization and mass by the masses? By establishing and creating these false narratives about these stories that are nothing more than stories. But they have your attention, your undivided full attention. It has your thought, and you're really thinking about it.
Yeah,
So
I'm stuck on Enoch. I'm sorry.
Huh?
Yeah, I said, yeah, I'm stuck on Enoch. I'm sorry.
Just so again, I'm going to ask you. I know you're stuck on Enoch.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
How would it affect us? How would it affect us whether or not the shit was flat or round?
Because the fact that it is flat, it shows their true control, right? I tried saying it when me and Titus got into that argument on a couple episodes back, but he gets you in little ways, right? If I can deceive you and make you think that you live where you don't live, then I can make you believe anything. All I have to do is get you in one way. As soon as I get you, I get you.
Right. And if you get somebody for so long, it's as good as true. Because
No.
now it's being taught to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And as long as you're able to do that for 4, 5, 6, 7 generations, then it's proven to be history. Therefore, it has to be true. I mean, maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way, but I have a hard time questioning a lot of things that were in history. Oh, look at that beautiful representation. Is it the Norse one?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is what the Norse pagans believed that our world looked like. The tree of life, right?
Oh, yeah.
And every time you go up, every one of these is another flat plane, right? So they're not the only people. Enoch isn't the only one to think that. So that picture I was talking about earlier on the in Giza or in you know, bam.
Yep.
Now the firmament he is holding up does happen to be a person,
Which could be a Nephilim.
Could be. And then there are people outside of it worshiping it. So for another representation, a lot of religions and old ancient civilizations believed that the world was this and not this. And I don't know who made this picture, but it is awesome that I clicked on it because it says cock, knob, dong. And I can't read that.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, folks. I hope
So
you can see it.
once again, another representation of a turtle. So it's the ancient Native Americans,
Turtle.
the Hindu, and the ancient Chinese. So what if we really are just on a fucking turtle shell floating through an eternal ocean? What do you guys think? If you happen to like this,
Tell us
hit that like, that
Was it-
subscribe button. And don't remember to hit that little notification bell. You can follow us on
Tell us that-
Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Breaker, Podcast, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast. You know what I mean? So we're out there. I don't know why you guys aren't giving your opinion on this.
I lost it.
My bad. I didn't even know you were saying something. That's what happens when you get safe, people.
Never ending story.
Hated that movie for some reason.
Do you remember there was an island on the back of that turtle?
Bam.
That's a representation. A whole island was on the back of a turtle. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the same movie, Never Ending Story.
Might be. All I remember from that movie is the big ass dog.
Right, the flying dog, the boy.
Yep. Yep. That's it. That's all I remember. So Pat, you feeling safe yet?
I'm always feeling safe, brother.
Nice. So if you
So-
guys happen to like this, hit us up. Pat's got something to say because I heard him say so this time.
In conclusion, at the end of the day, whether things are what they are or not, it's never too late to learn something new. And tonight, we hope you at least learn something. And that's all we can really ask for, because ultimately, knowledge is the best thing that we could do for each other. The more knowledge we're able to spread amongst each other, is the better we are together in order to move forward together. And in order to move forward together, we all have to be on the same page, some way, shape, or form. And if all it's going to really be is knowledge is the thing that unites us, then let's do that. Let's share knowledge.
You can follow him on TikTok. He's Big Pat 007.
Big who? Big Pat. Don't forget to follow JoJo on Safety _meeting. He's on TikTok. All we're doing is sharing knowledge, whether it be factual or not. That's up to you, and it's up to how you feel. But the only way we're ever going to get through this is together, guys. Period. No matter how you look at it. And if knowledge is the way, then so be it. Knowledge is the way. I am willing to learn every single friggin' day. So with that note, hope you all be good and be good to each other. We love you all and appreciate you.
If y'all haven't liked this, remember, hit that like, that subscribe button, leave a fucking comment. Until next time. Did Germany win the war? Find out next on Safety Meeting.